All right. We're going to do lesson 3. So I can remember, and it's a long time ago, when I was running, trying to find someone to pull me out of the muck I was in. And I was in deep. I was about as crazy as you could get. Running, heart racing, my mind racing. You ever been there? Isn't it amazing how when we're caught up in our stuff, we think we're all that because we can do 6 things at one time. And remember 5 lies? Anybody remember those days? Just me, okay. I remember. Okay. So then, we figured out that we've got issues. And I ran, actually, and I'll just tell you, first person I ran to was that man sitting right back there, David. And man, we were both searching because my addiction is a sex addiction. And back in those days, you had plenty of that. Alcohol and drugs. A lot of drugs were so-so, alcohol a lot. But finding something for recovery of sex addiction was tough. And there was nothing Christian about any of the recovery. No, it wasn't. It was pretty tough. SSA, SA, and all that, going down to Catholic churches. And a lot of times, it was kind of weird. You had to meet someone, had called this number, talk to them on the phone, and they would ask you questions, and then you meet at a restaurant, and I'm telling you, I was 42, and I was a pretty good-sized boy, in other ways besides this, fed. If I walked in there, I'll tell you, I was scared to death, but I was anxious and happy to think, I'm going to talk to somebody who's going to lead me out of this. And I walked in there, and I saw a guy, he said, "You Keith?" And I said, "You James?" "Yeah." Shook hands, sat down. He said, "Before we get started, tell me a story." So he just gave me a short story. So I gave him a short story. He gave me a little short story. And all of a sudden, we were strangers. All of a sudden, we're brothers. It's like that. Because we've been down the same nasty, dirty mire together. All right? But he was going to help pull me out of it. So then 2, and this is what's kind of tough on me. And somebody might relate to this, and I'll get to mine, lesson 3 in this moment. But believe there's a God who can restore us to sanity. And I knew, I'm telling you, my body, my mind was crazy. The things I was doing was crazy, all right? But I already knew Jesus. I already knew God. I had been, anybody ever play golf? All right. So I quit for like 30-some years, and I just started back about a year and a half or so. So I'm trying to find, and Kim even said something about this last week in a different way. I find a sweet spot again. All right? So that means when you hit a ball, it comes off that club, and you don't even know you've hit it. And that ball just starts sailing, and it's weird because it just sits there and does like that. It goes way out there. And so the first time I ever did, I'm like, that was me. So lately I've found the sweet spot more and more. Go back before I got caught up in my addiction, because I had issues already, and they were tormenting me in a lot of different ways, and I was just keeping them at bay. Ulcers and things like that were still going. A lot of other things were going on, anger and a lot of things. But I'd already had the sweet spot with God. And so that's what haunts me quite a bit, and not just me personally, because I had a sweetness for over 20-some years, but I never took care of my issue. So I had lived with all this crap. I never gave it up to God. I just never did. I just kept it inside. It balled up inside me. So I didn't take care of it. So now, back to get more sweet spots again. Be back in the sweet spot. Oh, I'm not perfect. And I guarantee anybody in here has got recovery for 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 some years. They're not perfect, are they? No. But we're working our way through this, right? So step 3, something very difficult for us as addicts to do, because we are usually self-centered. We're our own man, own woman, and we want to do our own thing. Of course, what has that really gotten us? Yeah, a lot of pain, right? A lot of trouble, a lot of pain. So I told you before, it cost me a house, car, families. Families are destroyed, relationships. I have once counted up, it was close to $400 and some thousand that I had lost through my addiction. You know? With all things I lost. There's a lot of it. But you know what was worse was losing all the friends I had and the relationships I had and the relationships I broke. So here he says, choose to surrender our lives and will over to God. That thing about our will, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. If you got your Bibles, turn over to Matthew 16, 21 through 26. Dave made reference here last Thursday night about taking our mask off. Now, he might be a little different reference than I'm going to use it tonight. But that's what we're struggling to do right now. Because we've been behind this mask of addiction or anxiety or grief or whatever. It's war on us. Anyone ever see the movie? I think it was actually Mask, Jim Carrey. Yeah. And that was that Mask. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when it was a carved out face mask, and when you got close, what did it? It was just take over his whole. He would take over his whole being, right? His whole will. It would bring out what? Goodness. No, it brought out some evil things, right? But you remember when he was trying to get the mask off, how hard of a struggle it was? Do you remember him grabbing it and pulling it as hard as he could? And just like his face would just stretch out with it, and he'd finally get it off. And he'd go, shoo, like that. But he was kind of addicted to that mask, wasn't he? Because, what was the actor's name?
Jim Carrey.
Who was it?
Jim Carrey.
The actress.
Oh, that.
Actress.
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz. So she kind of thought that was pretty hot, pretty cool, that he's got the mask and he's all evil. Well, when we're in our evil ways, or in our ways, aren't there people who kind of pat us on the back and tell us we're doing good? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So he was fighting the same thing. So he was continually wanting to wear that mask to be that person. So here's what we're doing now. We have done step 1, step 2, and now we're slowly trying to rip that mask up. I'm not telling you you're never going to stick your face back in it. I'm not telling you will not have an urge to wear it again. There will be times and battles that we will go through. Now, there's many people who probably have not went back to their primary addiction. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know this, you can have more than one addiction. More than one issue in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you got all your recovery in this one addiction, but let me tell you what happens. Other stuff will creep up on you if you're not careful. So you have to be aware. That's why when it says we surrender our lives and our wills over to God, he says here in Romans 12:1, verse, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. So now he's telling us that to give our what? Part of it?
All of it.
All of it. Again, as I say, sometimes as addicts, we do not want to give it up. Now here, again, we may give our primary addiction because you're going to focus on that, right? Drugs, alcohol, and whatever, grief, whatever it is. Sexual addiction. You're going to focus on that. But again, it could be those little pebbles. That big boulder, you might be moving that way. those little pebbles we might want to keep hold of and not give away. But he says, all of it. All of it. Lately, I'm driving my wife crazy just a little, well, that's not lately, but anyway. But, so, what I'm doing right now, I've decided in the last month that I'm driving the speed limit, I don't care where I'm at. Now that sounds crazy,
That's
doesn't it?
scary.
That's scary, yeah, that's right. See there? See how it is? That's right.
I'm siding with Jennifer on this one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for ripping past you the other day.
That's all right. It was a gesture, never mind. And I'm just kidding. So I go over the slow lane. I don't ride in the middle doing speed limit because to me that's causing wrecks. You know. So I get out and I set on 70 and I just run. Now here's the thing. So she's saying, I say, okay, what time we need to leave? She'll say we need to leave at this time. Well, she's thinking that old Keith is doing what? 80, 85. It might punch 90 every once in a while. So we're there, and I'm doing 70, and she's going, I'm not really used to you doing speed limit of 70. And I can see her looking at her phone, like, the time. I said, what's wrong? Nothing. She said, I'm just not used to you doing that. So she's got to start working with me on time, because she can call it. If she knows I'm driving 80, she knows I can be there, boom. But driving 70, now why would I do that?
It's the right thing to do.
What?
It's the right thing to do.
See, again, I know it is, but there's people in here who would debate you with that.
I thought it
But
was
why?
suggested.
But why? Huh?
I thought it was just suggested.
Suggested.
Suggested the judge.
But what do you think it does for me?
Anxiety?
It takes rid of that.
Yeah.
Because when I was driving 80 and I went to Panama City, last month Panama City, and you're going south, I'm telling you what, you're into traffic, it's nuts. And now you're going here. I just get on this one lane, put on cruise, and I am coasting, laying back.
Get more time to think.
That's it, like that. Working recovery, you're gonna start finding some peace, I'm telling you. It's gonna be tough. You might still be doing 75, 80 right now, okay? But I'm telling you, as you work these steps, you're gonna find some peace. You may never drive the speed limit. That's up to you. But if you do, you're gonna understand my peace in that. Okay, it's my crazy piece, okay? So, he says here that the progress of recovery involves several important paradoxes. One is that we must give up in order to win. How does that happen? What do you give up to win? Again, I gave up time to win peace. Time of driving, instead of doing 80, so if you figure it out, I'm doing 70, and if I'm driving 5 hours, and I was doing 80, I go down to 70, how many miles am I, it's going to be all right, let me do this, a bus came by, never mind. And then, so if you're losing 10 miles an hour, 5 times that's what?
50 minutes.
Come on.
50 minutes.
50, all right. So now, I'm losing 50 miles, but I'm gaining, say it, peace, okay? All right. So, here we are. I'm telling you, you're going to give up something. You're going to give up something when you surrender. When you surrender, here's where it takes a brave soul. And I'm telling you, if I did not find people to work with me through my steps, if I did not pray earnestly to God, if I did not feel His presence, I could not found peace in recovery. So again, if you're trying to do recovery and you're doing it by yourself, you're going to be doing 75 and 80. You're not going to be doing the speed limit. It's hard to do. Just saying, okay? So he said you're going to lose something. All right, I said I lost, when that's circumstance, I lost time. Whoever desires to save his life will lose it. Now, isn't it easy to say, how many want to save your life? Come on, this is a show of hands here. All right. So, everyone, if you're not wanting to save your life, you wouldn't have been here, would you? This is not, I'm telling you, this is not game time. It's not play time. It's lifetime, right? It really is. It's life, right? So when someone comes in here, and we've got different leaders here that, you know, they pay a lot of dues as far as getting recovery, and they teach, and they study, and they live that life. So, do you think you're going to lose friends? Now, let me ask you a question. Seriously, I mean, I'm not trying to be, what kind of friends? So, a buddy of mine, have you ever had anybody say, no, man, take another, you say, I've had enough to drink. No, man, come on, drink one more. Let's do a double. Let's do shots. Anybody ever had anybody tell them that? Say it to them? Yeah.
If not, you probably were the person.
Huh?
If not, you probably were the person.
Back in the day, I was probably the guy saying, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, we've all been there. You know, some of us, But I'm just saying, we're talking about losing friends and stuff in the way, though. So a lot of times that comes up, right? Because you're going to think like, okay, what else am I going to lose? I'm going to lose not just drinking, but anything. There's a place that caused you anxiety. So why would you keep going there? If there's a place that caused you anxiety? Now, I told you before, right? When I was 13, I started having this horrible pain in my stomach, in my side, and they thought it was appendix, but it wasn't. Through all the things I was going through, it was an ulcer developing. All right? So, because I was living with all this anxiety and all this grief in a sense as far as home, living in home, because most of you don't know, or I think a lot of you do, I left home at 14. That's when I was asked to leave. So during all of that, caused anxiety, all right, and then developed a bleeding ulcer. But we're going to lose something. If you're going to give ourselves up to God, if we're going to surrender it all, so Jesus, let's read Matthew. Let me read that real quick. All right.
What was the verse again?
It is Matthew 16, 21, 26. Because Peter, does everybody know Peter?
Mm-hmm.
So Peter was I'm clued in Peter. I understand Peter. I am like Peter. I was always wanting to run to do, say the wrong thing, jump in. He says, from the time Jesus began to show to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Can you imagine rebuking Jesus Christ? But ain't we done it? Ain't you done it?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Are you sure that's what you want me to do? Are you sure? Well, you said you're going to give your whole will up. You're unmanageable. But are you sure, Jesus, that's what you want me to do? All right, so we're Peters too sometimes. Took him aside, rebuked him, saying, far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you. Peter was thinking with the flesh, wasn't he? His mind was flesh. He was thinking about the flesh. Jesus said he was going to do what? He was going to suffer and give his all, and die on the cross. And Peter said, no. There's no way that this is going to happen to you. Let's say to 26, and he says, but he turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful to the things of God, but the things of men. Here we go. My addiction, when I'm desiring my addiction, when I'm wanting my addiction, I am not have the mind of God, right? I have my fleshly mind, don't I? It is such, it's such a crazy thing, paradox talking about, because seriously, I'll just say it straight up. I enjoyed my addiction. I enjoyed my addictions. what I did enjoy, what happened about me, happens to me when I was in my addiction or after my party with my addiction. It ain't know where it's at. In your middle of your addiction, are you really going like, God, I wish I wouldn't do this right now? Maybe. Right? Right sometimes? But most time, it's after, that we go like, gosh, Lee, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I could stop. I wish I wasn't doing that. And Jesus said, look, I'll tell you what. Get out of the flesh, get in the spirit, and we can do it. Right? This right here. How many years, Dave, have we've been having up here on the hill?
2 years, 3,
3 years. There are a lot of people in here. A lot of good people pass through. A lot of people are out teaching and bringing others. And that's awesome, right? But guess what else happened? We have lost a lot, haven't we? And we got back into the world, stayed in the flesh. And that's what I'm trying to say. He says here, you're gonna suffer. It's gonna be tough. And it's kind of simple in a way. Do you ever get that just in your mind where you're just at peace? Do you ever just kind of go like, I know if I do this and I give this up and I do this for God, that guess what? You ever feel those moments? Was it tranquility or what would you say? Utopia? What's the word?
Serenity.
Serenity? Did you ever feel that way? Do you ever have it just, some people have it a lot, but do you ever just have it sometimes a fleeting moment and you feel that? And you're thinking like, why? What is it I've got to do to get there, right? And question, have you ever not known what you got there? Are any of us, now I'm telling you, the addicts I've run with and did recovery with, they are some of the smartest people. I'm serious, I know. Intelligent. Except sometimes when it comes to recovery.
Too smart.
Sometimes, yes, too smart. But highly intelligent men and women I've been with. They run, well, a lot of them run multi-million-dollar businesses. Yeah, I know. So he says, it's so simple. Just give up, give up, give up. Turn everything over. Now, we're not at that point yet of making a list of it. We're wanting to just get into it like I was with Dave. Just show me, Dave. Tell me, Dave. Give me the phone number. And we worked it out together, and I went. That's where we're at right now, right? We're wanting to get to that point where you walk in a door, and somebody says, can I help you? You say, yes. I have done this. I have done this over and over and over again. And guess what? I can't stop. Do you want to stop? I want to stop. How bad do you want to stop? I want to stop no matter what it costs me. Have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought and said those words? I don't care
No matter
what it costs. I'll pay it right now. Right now I'll pay it. I want peace. I'm in the crazy. And I don't know how to get out. And he says, I can show you the way. I can show you the way. Right? So Jesus says, surrender. Give me your will. You know what? Here's the other side of that is when we surrender, give our will. Are we? In the Bible, it talks about slaves and stuff like being slaves. We are slave to God. But that's not like a negative thing, is it?
Nope.
Because what's he going to do? He's going to what? Take care of us. He's going to feed us. He's going to nourish us. He's going to guide us. Have you ever cried to God? Yeah. Yeah. Cried to him. But isn't it a sweet? Aren't the tears sweet? When you have a mindset with God, aren't those tears sweet? And they just replenish you. They make you weak, but they still replenish you. And I told you before, when I was carrying a secret from my mom, which she already knew I'd done something, she already knew it. She was just waiting for me to do what?
Admit it.
Yeah, commit it. So when I went to her, I didn't care. I didn't care if she got the biggest switch in the world and wore me out. I did not care. Because I knew that I had done something that was disappointing my mom. Okay? And every time that I went to my mom, did she always spank me. There was times when she would just talk to me. I gotta tell you the truth, the talkings were worse. They were harder on me. I'd rather have been beat. And there we go again. So we're coming to Jesus, give our will and everything up. And sometimes I'm saying, we're just like, just punish me, God, punish me. Just get it over with and punish me. And God says, my son was punished. My son took your punishment. My son took the beating and took the whipping and put himself on the cross for you. I'll make discipline you because I love you, but I'm not going to punish you. That's been done. I'm going to take you. How many people here? I saw a lady a while ago, and she had here the other night, and she had lost her husband about 4 or 5 years, and I've known her since I was a teenager. And she said, Keith, and she's up in her 70s. She said, will you do me a favor? I said, sure. She said, will you hug me? She said, just hug me. She said, you know it doesn't mean anything, but I need to be hugged. She said, you know, Roy's been gone for like 8, 9 years now. And really, Keith, I have no one to just hug me and to hold me. And I just held her. I just hugged her. And she said, just hold me, Keith. But isn't that how we get? Isn't that how we get sometimes? We're so caught up in our addiction, so caught up in all the mar and all the dysfunctions and everything that we grew up with. A lot of times as we live in those crazy families, our emotional life might be about right there. 5, 6, 7 years old. That's where we are emotionally. You know what we want? Well, sometimes we just want somebody to hold us and hug us, right? That's what we want sometimes, right? It says surrender. He says, Jesus sternly rebuked Peter, reminding him that he was not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men. Spiritual growth demands that we give our lives to God without reservations or restraint. Hold nothing back. Think about it right now. When I played football, I didn't know the rules. I didn't know when you're practicing, you're not supposed to hit anybody full gear. You're supposed to hit them hard. I thought you're supposed to go 100% all the time. I was one to hit somebody. So I'm playing, practicing. I'm hitting people just as hard as I could. You know, and these seniors, I'm a freshman, these seniors going like, what the heck is wrong with you? I said, nothing, what? Well, what are you doing hitting us like that? I said, look, dude, you're there. There's the ball. I'm on defense. That's how I play. But think about it. Have you ever not done anything full 100%? But then think of this side. Have you ever done something 100% and received the reward that you got? Put everything you had into it. When I went into the military at 18, basic training, and like I said, I was in the outhouse. I was living with 4 or 5 different families, and at the end, I lived with some guys that only very few people here would know. Dave knows them. Probably no one else in here knows them. Bird, Allen, Kinser, some other people. So I was living with them. So I joined the military, and I've seen pictures of it online. Who hadn't, you know? So I'm going. So they're saying, hey, you're going to where'd I go? Fort Dix, New Jersey. Well, Lord, now I've been to North Dakota a few times, so I've been out of state. You know, you got on that plane, boom, you're up there, and you're out, and you're on the bus, and you got your clothes, and there's somebody, that door opens, there's somebody standing right there, and you hear them yelling, screaming, get off this bus, You stupid idiot. I thought, I'm home. You know? So you got all your stuff, you're going down, you know, you go down the steps and everything, and there's this guy grabbing your shirt, he's pulling you and jerking you and throwing you out there, you know, and you're getting in line, he says, get in line, get in line, get in line. He's kicking the ground and cussing and calling things. Truthfully now, I hadn't heard that kind of cussing in my life. He was saying things I did not know what those words were. So we're doing that, you know, but guess what? We're all going through orientation. You're still kind of puzzled what's going on, but there's always somebody around kind of give you little hints, do this, do that, and they say this, do that. It didn't take long to figure out that if I went all in, guess what? That sergeant wasn't getting in my face and saying things to me that I didn't want to hear. So I got all in. And I never got called out, except one time when somebody else did something, I just had to be with him. So that guy said he wouldn't do 50 push-ups, so I had to do 100. But that's the only time, because I knew if I went all in, even to a point of being proactive to get fast and get ready to do things that he wanted me to do, I was good. All right? What? Now, a lot of y'all have been in recovery. Some of you haven't been in a long time. What does it mean when I say half measures do what for you? Not a daggone thing, but get your foot stomped or get you cussed at in military wise.
Most other places too.
Yeah. So half measure. Why is it sometimes we'll go all in our addiction, won't we? How many times have you said, I'll drink all I can drink, I'll do all the drugs I can do, I'll do all this I can do, I'll do all that I can do, I'll do all that. No bounds. You don't have to raise your hand. Anybody ever think they weren't going to make it till the next morning? Seriously. Right? So we get all into that, right? And now he's just saying, hey, just come on, give it all up. Give it all up. Yeah, it's going to be some suffering. You know, now I'm not talking about suffering. I know it's withdrawals. But I think there's a separation, and there's suffering in a sense too, because I grieved. I went through a grieving process of my addiction. For my addiction. So I grieved for my addiction. I missed my addiction. I can honestly say I do not miss my addiction anymore. Not at all. But I went through that process of missing and grieving after my addiction. And then, going through recovery, guess what I found out? I don't holler at me if I'm giving too long. So then I found out I had this crazy cycle. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody know what I'm talking about? I had a 6-week cycle. I could go good for 6 weeks. Around the 6th or 7th week, bam. Bam. I just let it go. Got myself in trouble again. You know? So I thought, I was going through this cycle, and finally, one of the older guys was like, something's going on. He said, I'll see you, and there's people watch you. I guarantee you, you walk in here, I and others see your demeanor, see your eyes, see your facial expressions, and know you may be suffering through something, all right? So a guy walked to me and goes like, you got to tell me what's going on. I said, man, I don't know. I said, here I am going through 5 or 6 weeks of just, bliss. I'm great. And then all of a sudden, he said, all of a sudden you just go back down, spiral down. He said, well, you made a mistake. You didn't get back into it fully, but you're grieving, ain't you? I said, well, he said, man, guess what you got to do? He said, what? First, you got to set your boundaries. Boundaries are hard to set. You can't drive down this way, drive down that way, go see him, go here. See your boundaries. All right. Do your boundaries. All right. 2, You got to call somebody when you get that urge, and not after your urge, before your urge, because I got to the point where I would call somebody after my desire. Okay, he said, nope, call somebody before. He says, well, I said, well, that's kind of embarrassing. He said, now you're being stupid. He said, this is about recovery. This is about taking care of each other. Call me before. All right. I said, all right, good. He said, and third, you got to surrender it all, dude. You still ain't giving it up. You have not turned your whole will over to God. Oh, you turned 5 or 6 weeks over, but your body, your mind, and your addiction knows that the 6th week or 7th week, you go jump back in and have a party again. And our bodies and our minds and all that crazy stuff in us, it's smarter than we are. And it will trip us up and take us down the road. He said, you've got to be all in. One of the worst things happened in the United States was Civil War. Great cause for all to be free and be treated right. But there were 620,000 men killed, died during that time. That's a lot of people. Brother against brother. There's men, women, families. Whole families destroyed. Destroyed. 50,000 civilian casualties. Properties destroyed, burned, stolen. The war's over. Robert E. Lee surrenders who? Grant. Grant. All right. All right. So he surrenders to Grant, and Grant did not belittle him, which was good. And I just threw it in there. Okay. Okay. Listen here. Listen to me. The war was over, but the battle was still going on because there were men that were still hating and fighting a battle because they still wanted their cause to win. They would not surrender. Robert Lee surrendered, but many men continued to die because they would not surrender their all. And I'm going to tell you, and I'll stop right here. If I do not surrender and give my all, my will, my all, I'm not going to have the peace. I'm not going to be hitting that sweet spot. I'm not going to be walking in serenity. I'm not saying you're not going to fall. There's a difference. You can trip and fall and get back up. And the brothers and sisters are there to help you. But if you go mad dog right back in it, if you don't give up your will and give it all up, I'm telling you, it will take you back a little at a time, and it'll get you. So, nice lesson, lesson 3. Surrender, give it all to God. After this, just saying, men will be meeting in here, ladies on the other side. If you've got a question, there's no question you cannot ask. There's men and women that have been through so much, you'd be amazed what they can answer and how they can help you do this, okay? So thank you all.
Thank you.